Oh, hey, good morning, good afternoon, everybody, depending on which part of this beautiful country that you're in. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. You're watching the Wednesday iteration of the Rebel Roundup, our live daily news and opinion show. And we are calling it the Buffalo Roundtable. It's hosted or co-hosted by my real life best friend, Lise Merle from Regina, Saskatchewan. And then we bring in, we're aiming for two other panelists. Today, I'm pleased to bring on my friend, Chris Sims. She's the Alberta Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, and Chris Oldcorn, who's the Managing Editor of the Saskatchewan Standard. So that's within the Western Standard umbrella. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. I want to just give everybody a quick way that they can get involved in the show if they've got questions, comments, or just plainly are moved by the spirit to support Rebel News. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave a super chat. That's their paid chat over there. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we'll read it on air. If you're watching us on the great free speech platform of Rumble, same rules apply, but they call it a Rumble rant over there. Also, if you are a future viewer, this is Sheila from the past speaking directly to you. If you missed the live version of the show, you can also support us on YouTube by leaving a paid comment. That's called a super thanks. So for those of you who pitch in to help the little network that could, we appreciate you so much because we'll never take a penny from the government to do the work that we do. So guys, lots happening in Western politics, Western issues. This past week, it was the First Minister's meeting in Muskoka. They never have these in places like Vegreville. So it's always someplace
or on Zoom.
Right.
Or on Zoom. They don't do these things. Yeah.
And at the meeting of the First Ministers, Premier Smith was doing what she does best, and that was pushing the Western energy sector. We've got this post from Premier Smith. Posted to X. Efron, if you could bring it up. Canada's premiers met today to discuss emergency management and wildfires, how we can take action to advance nation-building projects and manage our relationship with the United States and expand international trade. You know what I would like to have heard? Expanding internal trade. She says we're ready to get major projects built quickly and responsibly, but we need the federal government to address our shared concerns around policies like the production cap and net zero regulations to generate the investor certainty needed to bring these projects forward. Now, I'm glad she talked about investor certainty caused by regulatory craziness out of the federal government, because everyone is talking about a reigniting Energy East or, any number of these nation building projects. But the problem is nobody's going to step up and invest money while you have these liberal Trudeau era policies standing out in the field like a scarecrow, forcing investment dollars to run to safer jurisdictions like Algeria and northern Iraq. Chris, first I'll go to you. Chris Sims.
Yeah, you make a great point there, because I think sometimes, Sheila, these politicians who know better, by the way,
right.
And in particular, Prime Minister Mark Carney gets away with saying things like, oh, investment. And what he means by that now as being Prime Minister is you, your neighbors, your family, taxpayers being on the hook for this thing. No sane person who supports Canada's oil and gas sector and wants to see more drilling, more product, more pipelines heading out there wants to see this built by taxpayers. That's crazy talk. They want to have that stable, normal environment where some bigwig company can look at Canada and say, you know what? I don't think it's going to be blocked. I don't think that the government's going to drag its feet for 5 years. I'm going to get a good return on investment. Let's spend our own company's money on this. That's what we want to see out of this. We don't want the government getting into the business of building pipelines, because it'll turn into a boondoggle and a big waste of money.
Yeah, just ask Kinder Morgan what happened when the federal government didn't do its job. Exactly. Chris Oldcorn, do you think we're ever going to see a pipeline built as long as the Liberals are in power? Well, I guess a pipeline that wasn't bought and paid for by the Canadian taxpayers and came in 800% over budget.
I think we need to actually look at the messaging that we're giving to the world. In one side of Mark Carney's mouth, he puts in a EV mandate by 2035.
Right.
Well, pipelines are not built in 1 year. Pipelines are built over many years. So by the time this pipeline gets through all the regulatory processes, and let's say we can build one from Saskatchewan to the BC coast, we could be mandating electric vehicle only cars at that point in time.
Yeah.
Yet we want to double our oil exports at the same time to the rest of the world. If I'm an investor, this is sending the exact wrong signal to me. It's sending a signal to me that's saying, okay, well, they want to export oil, but they also are saying that they want to use electric vehicles only on their roads. So, like, this is just, it's liberal doublespeak. I don't think there's a pipeline that's going to happen that would go through Quebec ever, because it's not politically popular, and the Liberals need Quebec to stay in power. If they lose, let's say, 10 ridings in Quebec, and the Conservatives pick those 10 ridings up, and they lose some ridings in Ontario from the pipeline as well, next election you could very well see a Conservative government, just simply because they approved a pipeline. Because there are people in Ontario and Quebec that are very focused on electric vehicle only cars. That might work in Toronto or Ottawa if you don't have to drive far, but try using an electric car in Saskatchewan.
Yes.
At least I would be stranded on the side of the road before we could even get out of the province.
Right. And then, you factor in the production cap. So who's going to invest in Canada when then you have this Soviet style supply management on how much you can produce? It doesn't make any sense. You cannot maximize your investment. And again, when you look at what it would take to get a pipeline or any major fossil fuel energy project to completion in this country, a lot of these countries are saying, you know what, it's probably just a lot easier to pay off the local warlord in Algeria to get the project done. Lise?
Yeah. When she says that she needs the federal government to address shared concerns around policies like production caps and net zero regulations to generate investor certainty, what she's actually saying is we need the federal government to get the hell out of our way. Because as long as the federal government is involved in projects like this, it breeds uncertainty in investment from private industry. As long as the federal government is involved, we know that there are going to be regulatory hurdles that are going to be next to impossible for these companies to jump over to get these projects underway, let alone shovels in the ground. Okay, just the pre-regulatory approvals that they're going to have to get. So if the federal government is serious about nation building projects, about making Canada an energy superpower, they must be willing to get the hell out of the way. But as we know, our federal government has a big interest in keeping control of these things because we know that they have an agenda underneath, which is amplified by their green energy projects, by their sustainability projects, by their EV mandates by 2035. We know that they like to be involved, but if they want to help the Western provinces, if they want to win the Western provinces over, they'll get the hell out of the way on these projects.
And they've been overstepping for years because natural resource development is a provincial jurisdiction.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to jump in there, Sheila, if I can, because thank you so much for including me in this Buffalo podcast. I love it. I love that we're part of the Buffalo show. I sat there and did the math. And you know how we often talk about equalization costing us billions? That's true. But the stifling and strangling of natural resources projects have cost Canada an estimated $600 or so billion since 2015. If you add on the energy cap that you just mentioned, now we're talking some major cash. Yep. I did the math. The strangulation of our natural resources projects by the federal government would cover the income tax bills of every man, woman, and child in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba for the last 10 years. Ooh. Imagine the entire populations of our Western Prairie provinces not having to pay income taxes for a decade. That's how much they're screwing us.
Not to mention the LNG contract we could have had with Germany, which was worth trillions, which went to a Middle East dictator.
Yeah, that's part of the 600 billion with a B.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
That's
Yeah.
insane. But the one thing that I do want to mention is as it pertains to natural resources being the purview of the provinces themselves, we don't want the federal government involved in developing these projects. Saskatchewan has one of the biggest deposits of uranium in the world. Do we want Brookfield associated companies to come in and start managing the mines that they're going to start putting into production? Absolutely not. This is why Danielle Smith is saying we need you all the way out of our natural resource development, like
Right.
all the way out, not a little bit, all the way out. And good for her.
We've got this clip from Premier Smith breaking down the 9 bad laws that she argues are preventing Canada from living up to its potential as an energy superpower. And when I see this list, I think, like, if you were in the developing world, you would think that we had lost our ever-loving minds, that we are doing this to ourselves, where they're like, we just want to be able to flip the light switch and have things come on. Oh, you're leaving 800 years of clean burning coal in the ground? Okay, you guys are insane. But this is Premier Smith laying out the pieces of regulation that the liberals have brought in, which hinder our growth.
Can you be more specific regarding, quote, regulatory burdens and, quote, bad laws that you're referring to that you want changed at the federal level?
Well, I'm going to hand it over to Danielle. She has it memorized. I don't have it memorized, so let it roll, Danielle.
Sure, happy to go through them. I've got a little cheat sheet right here in my notes so that I always have them on hand. So first of all, C-69, we call that the No More Pipeline bill. That needs to obviously have some substantial rewrite, and I think that that's what the 2-year to yes policy recognizes, is that has been a barrier to getting big projects built. That's one. The emissions cap. We're not going to be able to fill a new pipeline if we're capping emissions, which means capping production. With the aggressive targets, we would have to curtail production 2 million barrels a day by 2030. That's got to go. Carbon pricing, we want that to stay provincial. We have a $95 carbon price. Other provinces have made different choices for different reasons, but we want that to be provincial. We don't want them to take over carbon pricing. The clean electricity regs, I can tell you we have 17,000 megawatts of demand for AI data centers in our province. The only way we're going to build them is if we can build natural gas power plants. That won't happen if officials or if company executives are going to go to jail in 2035 for not having met emissions reduction targets that are overly aggressive. Tanker ban, again, if you can't put something on a ship, there's no point in building a pipeline to the coast, so that's got to go. The declaration of plastics is toxic. We have an integrated market back and forth between the U.S. and Canada on plastics. If you're having to handle it like it's hazardous material, adds a bunch of additional regulation. Plus, the federal government's partnered with us on a net zero petrochemical plant in Alberta. So it's chaotic policy to support and subsidize on the one hand and then try to ban it on the other. Net zero vehicle mandate, we've discussed that. And then censorship of Bill C-59. What we're hearing, I mean, if an industry is not able to talk about their genuine emissions reductions efforts without facing criminal charges for greenwashing, then we're kind of missing the point of the exercise. And the last one is we don't want to see export taxes on energy or export restrictions for the reasons that we've been talking about as well, that the Americans have a bigger hammer. If they cut off Line 5, not only does that harm Ontario, it also harms Quebec. And so we do need to find other routes, but in the meantime, we shouldn't be talking about energy restrictions, because I think it would have a devastating impact on Alberta. So those are on Canada. Those are the 9.
What I would recommend to the federal government, and I have mentioned it, create a Ministry of Red Tape and Regulations. We did that, and we saved through sectors coming to us about unnecessary regulations that are duplicated between the provinces and the federal government. We found over $1.1 billion of savings and over 1 million people working hours. So that's a big chunk.
I'll go to Chris Oldcorn. Do you think Scott Moe might have learned something there?
He has not been as adamant as Danielle Smith has been with regards to government policy, with regards to natural resource development. However, he has stepped up in a couple times recently, for example, extending one of our coal plants to
Mhm.
the end of its useful life, for example, instead of what the Trudeau government wanted. So far, the federal government has not come back and said anything about that yet. We'll see what happens there. But oh, Lisa has her hand up.
I was just going to say, a couple of months ago, the government of Saskatchewan announced that any oil and gas project was going to have pre-approval
Yes.
through the government of Saskatchewan. So
Yep.
there actually isn't any red tape as it pertains to oil and gas projects in Saskatchewan right now. But that doesn't cover the multitude of other natural resources that we have in the province. And yeah, Chris, you're right. Keep going. Keep going.
And as far as the red tape goes, that's only provincial. You still got to go through all the federal red tape.
Exactly.
That's right.
Which is actually the more onerous red tape, which is also an overstepping of the federal government into provincial jurisdiction. So Scott Moe, he has, in certain instances, tried to be more centrist on certain things. I think he realizes, like, they basically lost all of Regina and Saskatoon. In the last federal election, they kept one seat between the two major cities. However, there's more seats outside those two major cities, and they have a comfortable majority in the legislature because we're only a two-party system here. And Scott Moe has been trying, and even in education, at least and I know about this, you know, he said one thing in the election, then as soon as the election was over, he flipped on it with regards to gender and changing rooms in public schools. Then he kicked it to them to decide what the policy would be, and they all said, we're not following the Parents' Bill of Rights, we're going to follow the Canadian Human Rights Code. And then he did nothing about that. So he, in one sense, he's very conservative on a lot of issues, but then on others, he's kind of like trying to play the center part to try and keep some center Sask party voters on his side.
I was going to say, publicly, he presents himself as very conservative.
Yes.
But privately, and as it pertains to policy, it is all liberal. It is all liberal. And Sask Party was an invention of the Conservatives and the Liberals coming together to turf the NDP. I would pay good money for a lip reader to find out what Scott Moe just whispered to Doug Ford when, God bless him, Doug Ford had the wherewithal to know that he was outpaced by Danielle Smith. I love the question was posed to Doug Ford, and Doug's
And
like,
he's like,
actually, I'm just going to let the one adult in the room talk about this because she knows. It's like, how embarrassing for Doug Ford that he didn't know the answer to that question. How embarrassing. But again, if there's any lip readers watching the show, okay, like certified lip readers, I want to know what Premier Scott Moe just said to Doug Ford. Yeah.
And not to mention, just yesterday, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Alberta signed a memo of understanding. And one of the things in that memo was a pipeline.
right. We've got a video on that that we'll show next. I know, Chris, you're just wiggling in your seat to talk. The one thing I wanted to ask you about, and I'll let you take this in whatever direction you want, is why do we need to create a bureaucracy of finding bureaucratic efficiencies? Can we just get one person who's already on salary in that department to find out any of the redundancies and then get rid of them and then like fire 1/3 of people through attrition? Like, I don't know what, like, does nobody see the irony of creating an entire bureaucracy for gajillions of dollars to find government efficiency? Stop it.
No, that's bass backwards. It's totally bass backwards to do something like that. Okay. Number one, we don't even need one person. Just do it for free. Steal our homework. Go to taxpayer.com. We have got articles that were posted there in a newsletter since 1990 showing you where to cut government waste.
Right.
I'm dead serious.
What are your managers doing over there at the bureaucracies too, by the way? Like, what, isn't that their job? Isn't that their job kind of?
No, it's apparently, scratching your backside and
yours.
watering houseplants. It's crazy. So yeah, we don't need yet another ministry, much less one that is a red tape reduction, that is a redundancy and kind of Orwellian. Two, biases declared. I'm a big fan of Danielle Smith. I think she's doing a great job as premier. All things considered, there's a few things we would like fixed. But to come to the defense of my rectangle brethren in Saskatchewan, okay?
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
You guys, Scott Moe has declared he doesn't have any carbon taxes. None.
He said he would go to jail.
He said he'd go to
for
jail.
him.
Like, send the feds. Come take me, bro. So that's impressive. And again, Danielle, Ms. Premier, if you're watching, why do we have a carbon tax in Alberta? Like,
Girl.
we
Right.
have a provincial carbon tax in Alberta. That is crazy pants. Like, she needs to follow suit with Scott Moe in Saskatchewan and get rid of all of them. I know that they're going to say, oh, we need it because of the oil companies regulating. No, just tune them out. We do not need any carbon taxes in Alberta. That should be something that she should have scrapped like by this fall. And to her credit, she is doing a massive like Alberta Next panel listening to her. She does take calls every Saturday on her radio show. She's very reflective and she takes advice. So I would encourage people to tell her to scrap the industrial carbon tax in Alberta.
Right.
Yeah, nothing made the Saskies feel better than to watch our politicians tell the federal government to get bent as it pertains to the carbon tax. And those politicians were richly rewarded for many, many years because as Westerners, okay, we like nothing more than to watch our politicians tell the federal government to kindly get bent. It's the best.
It's our provincial sport. I mean, and you're going to need bigger handcuffs if you want to take away Scott Moe. That man's got hands like the Incredible Hulk. I remember my son was little and he had like Incredible Hulk boxing gloves, and every time I see Scott Moe's hands, I was like, those are his wrists.
I photographed him the other day. He has like frying pans on the ends of his wrists. They're amazing.
I know.
It's a true story. It's a true story. He has hands the size of toilet seats, I say. They are humongous. And actually, I just want to point out that today I'm wearing my handcuff earrings for sort of this exact same reason, to just sort of note the Tamara Leach, Chris Barber situation, but also it applies to Scott Moe. That's what he did. He dared the federal government to come and take him away to the slammer, and we all went, oh, yes.
Base.
Okay, we're quickly running out of time with Chris Sims. And we're getting to the halfway point in the half an hour. It just flew by. I know she's much desired. She's got a hard out at 11:30 Mountain Time. But let's talk about the video that Chris Oldcorn alluded to. Premier Smith, Premiers Moe, and Premier Doug Ford told reporters on Tuesday that a time for a cross-country pipeline is long overdue. But again, I say, good luck getting an investor.
You've spoken a lot about getting our resources to other markets, but as Daniel Smith pointed out, our oil currently runs through the United States to Ontario. Michigan threatened to cut that off a couple of years ago. Trump could cut it off for political reasons. Do we need to build a pipeline from Alberta to Ontario on Canadian soil, regardless of whether there's a proponent or not for national security reasons?
It should give us pause that we, in Eastern Canada, are overly reliant on oil that either has to come by way of the United States or has to be shipped in from overseas. And so we could have addressed that years ago with the Energy East pipeline. Energy East is now no longer an option that's available to us because those pipelines are now full of gas. But if we can begin by creating a pipeline option that will at least help us to get to Ontario so that we can satisfy the needs of this market, I think that that'll give energy security to the country. And that's probably something that's long overdue. We probably should have done it decades ago.
We certainly need to have Canadian access through a line to the refineries in Eastern Canada, and I think that would be important to those that live in Central and Eastern Canada as well, so that we have that energy security as a country. I would point out the comparison of what happened most recently in Eastern Europe, when European countries learned that they have been entirely reliant for a significant amount of their energy security on Russia. Not a country that today they want to be reliant on for that energy security.
We can't chance it any longer. We need to be independent. We need a pipeline going to southwestern Ontario to one of the refineries and be self-reliant.
Okay, let's go real quick to Chris Sims because we're going to have to say bye to her right away. Chris, your comments on this. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that.
That's
This
okay.
will ultimately come back down to action. All of these words are excellent, and I think that Premier Daniel Smith has definitely been the kid that's done most of her homework on this. The issue is, will it actually happen? And when I see people like Ontario Premier Doug Ford talking about it, I get queasy because where was this guy a few months ago? No, really, where was he a few months ago when this really mattered during the election? And he was sitting on his hands on everything from the industrial carbon tax to this EV mandate stuff, and including not defending pipelines. So we'll believe it when we see it.
Not only was he sitting on his hands, but he was defending and campaigning for the federal Liberals. And unless, like, these are all these little press conferences and all of these photo ops are well and good, but unless we see Francois Legault, the Premier of Quebec, standing up there saying, "Yes, we need these pipelines," this is just going to go nowhere.
Just real quick, we're going to say bye to Chris. Chris, how do people find your work? Madam Sims.
Oh,
did she leave us already? Okay. You can find Chris at the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. They've got a ton of petitions wherein you can get involved and lend your voice to the work that they do, and they will never take a penny from the government to hold the government to account. In fact, they reject even favorable tax status because they just reject it entirely. So let's just finish up on this topic and then we'll say bye to Chris Oldcorn too. Chris, it feels as though Doug Ford wants us to be hard of remembering. And so do the reporters who posed that question, because they said, you know, like, oh, line 9 and line 5, they could be subject to the whims of Donald Trump. Doug Ford and LBOZEP Team Canada were telling Alberta that they should cut off line 9 and line 5 until Premier Smith reminded them that that will actually cut off oil and gas to you too. I agree with Lise. This seems a little too late to make a difference when it comes to federal policy to hear Doug Ford speak up on this issue now.
Yeah, but to give him some credit, at least maybe he's realized he was wrong.
Okay.
And now he's come around to like, hey, wait a second, we really do need pipelines going every which way in this country. We need it going north, we need it going west, and we need it going east. And we have so much in the ground that we can sell to the world, but we're hampered by our distribution methods right now. We do not have a large enough energy corridors to export everything we could be pulling from the ground. And that is the number one thing hindering oil and gas in particular, is the fact that everything's running at capacity now. And we're still having to sell stuff into the US because we don't have the capacity to get it out to other countries, because we're already running at capacity. So even if we redo the energy corridors in this country, one, it's going to take at least a decade. Two, it's going to be billions of dollars for a company to invest when there's economic uncertainty, because in 2035 we're supposed to be EV only.
Right.
And if I'm an investor right now, I would still be a little nervous of investing in a country that is pushing EVs and subsidizing battery plants, but won't approve pipelines. It's the wrong. You're sending the wrong message. You're sending a mixed signal. And until that mixed signal gets changed from the top, and I mean Prime Minister Carney specifically, and the people in his administration and his ministers and so on, until we change the messaging and show that we're actually proud of oil and gas, we're probably not going to see any large-scale investment, particularly in the billions of dollars that we take for a pipeline, to come to fruition. And we need it. If our relationship with the U.S. stays the way it is now, where it's completely different than it was, a couple of years ago, and depending on what happens in this trade deal, we've heard that there's going to be tariffs no matter what, according to Carney on some of our stuff. We just don't know what yet. But if we're going to redo our economy, the number one way to redo it is to focus on natural resources, because we have so much. And we have enough for, we could supply the world with oil and gas for the next 100 years.
Without question. Yeah.
And yet we're pushing electric vehicle plants, one of which already went bankrupt, lost billions there. And people aren't buying electric cars. As a matter of fact, electric car numbers came out the other day, and they were lower once again. They're trending in the wrong direction towards where the government wants them.
Chris, we're well past now the middle of the hour. Chris, please let people know where they can find the, I think, really important work that you do for the Saskatchewan Standard.
Yeah, you can go to westernstandard.news, and on there at the top, there's a news button, and you can click on Saskatchewan, and it'll pop up all the Saskatchewan stories there. And it will also pop you over to the Saskatchewan Standard website as well. if you want
Great.
just the Saskatchewan news.
Great. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. This is our second Buffalo panel. We're still working out the kinks, but I think we'll have you back on again very soon. If you're
Yes.
open to that. Okay, great.
Lisa's also my neighbor too, so.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Actually, Chris and I live like literally 2 blocks away from each other, and the two Chris's that we had today, Chris Olcorn especially, my neighbor, is just such a pleasure to talk to anytime, and we're just so happy to have been able to introduce you to our viewers today, and we are very much going to invite you back. Like, so just look for my texts.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Have a great day.
Thanks, you two. Let's hit an ad break and then we'll come back and talk to Tamara Leach, Ottawa badness. We'll be right back.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA hats to introduce, well, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.
Gun bans make great distractions.
Trudeau may be gone, but Carney has picked up his same rhetoric.
We will quickly, and I mean quickly, reinvigorate the buyback of assault-style firearms.
Hunters, collectors, competitors, and defenders of tradition are still being targeted. While criminals run wild under Liberal policy. But we are fighting back. By delaying and dismantling unjust legislation, by confronting policy at its source, like on the global stage at the United Nations, through our unmatched record of political lobbying and our Save Firearms program, actively saving firearms from government crushers in real time. And we're not done yet. Join us, Canada's National Firearms Association, in defense of freedom.
Alberta powers Canada, but Ottawa keeps limiting our potential. The Alberta Next panel wants your ideas to strengthen our sovereignty within a united Canada. Help decide what's next for Alberta. Visit alberta.ca/next.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
Okay, let's get into...
Canadians know the national...
Efron, you're still playing Freedom Passport ad. Let's get into what's happening in the nation's capital, where apparently only boring, busybody leftists are allowed to have an opinion. It is the day for sentencing arguments for Tamara Leach and Chris Barber, two of the leaders of the Freedom Convoy, the anti-mandate, entirely peaceful grassroots movement to defend the charter rights of Canadians against federal government overreach. I think it was the single largest human rights demonstration in modern Canadian history. Crime actually went down in the nation's capital while they were there. In fact, the only violence was that committed by the police against demonstrators and journalists like our Alexa Lavoie. The Crown is asking for 7 years for Tamara Leach for non-violent mischief. It's outrageous.
Insane.
It would be precedent setting. And 8 years for Chris, I guess because he did some honking. So that's an additional year. And they want his livelihood destroyed. They want to leave him both incarcerated, but also his family destitute. So collective punishment there by crushing Big Red, the iconic truck of the Convoy, which is his daily business vehicle.
His livelihood. His livelihood.
They want it gone. So Ezra Levant, our intrepid commander, is in the courtroom. He's live tweeting. From what I understand, court is on break right now until I believe 12:30 Mountain. You can follow along on his tweets on rebelnews.com, but also on his X account, which is Ezra Levant. But he's got a video that he filmed before court we can show right now. Oh, here's the truck.
The truck itself is used, but the apparatus on the back is... That's what he's doing.
So it's private property, so unless
Oh, sorry.
We absolutely respect you, and we are not parking here, we're driving through, but it is not private property.
It is. The Ministry of Attorney General owns the property, and they do not
private,
want
that's
people
government
driving
people.
through. They don't want people driving through the fire
Is that
road.
what they told you?
Yes.
Well, that car's there.
And that's why I just wrote the plate down, so I'm gonna make sure that car is moved as well. But if you could please advise him that you don't want to walk when you're driving out
I'm
the
gonna tell
public
him,
street.
keep doing loops. Keep doing loops. Yeah. And I'll be here in case there's any legal fracas. We're in the right place if there's any legal problems. My name is Ezra Levant.
Hello?
Thanks, my friend. Yeah, do loop. So we're doing loops today, but it's, that's just how it is on a public street, in a public place, on a
This
public...
isn't a public street. I'll call you right back.
It just is. And we're just going to keep doing, look at all the appearance there. Absolutely no problem. We're going to keep doing that loop again and again and again. There's no reason for Ottawa Police to make a new issue where there is none.
I'm sorry, you said your name is?
My name is Ezra.
Yep.
Z-R-A. My last name is
Yep. Yep.
L-E-V-A-N-T.
Okay, and your date of birth?
I'll write it down. I don't want to say it on
yeah,
camera when
sure.
these folks are here. Thanks.
Let's give you actually.
Ottawa police are maintaining that reputation of being some of the worst police in the entire country. The grandma stompers of the Ottawa police are back in action. She told Ezra that the public drop-off at the courthouse is private property. It is absolutely not.
Okay, officer, tell us who owns it then. Tell us who owns it then, like the person that owns it. No, this is a perfect example of the Ottawa police practicing make it up as you go law enforcement.
Yeah.
They just made that up. You guys, you just saw an Ottawa police officer make up a rule to suit her agenda right there. And then she gets out her little book and she flips out, what is your name? What is your date of birth? You know what? That's like a veiled threat. I'm going to look you up after. Is she going to find out? She's going to Google that name and go, oh God.
Yeah. Oh, I'm dealing with someone who was a lawyer. Oh, oops.
who runs the biggest independent media outlet in the entire country? Oops.
Who started Canada's largest civil liberties legal charity, the Democracy Fund? Oopsie doodle. And the Democracy Fund defended plenty of people from the bad policing at the hands of the Ottawa police. Oopsie daisy.
Oopsie daisy. Oh yeah, she's gonna learn. This is an FAFO moment for her. She can Google that name and go, oh no. Because there are people like Ezra in the world who know that a public drop-off is not private property. Of course, we all know this, but God bless Ezra for just digging in that moment and being like,
We're just saying, like, who told you that? Who told you?
Seriously.
How do you not know what the trespass law is as a police officer?
But truly, somebody that doesn't know that, what can they be trusted with? You going to trust this woman to deal with your break and enter? You going to trust this woman to deal with the Hamas freaks parading in the streets of Canada every day? We're going to trust this woman? This is why trust in policing has gone down the toilet in Canada. Exactly this reason. It's such a great example, and good for Ezra.
You know what? When I see this, I'm like, maybe they weren't wrong to say that the Ottawa police didn't have the tools to deal with the Freedom Convoy, because the tool you might need is a brain in your head.
It's
and
common
that lady,
sense, yeah.
she doesn't have one.
Yeah. No. And she answers her phone right in the middle. Hello?
I don't even think that was real.
I'm gonna have to,
I think that was like a colleague, like dialing her saying, "Listen, sister, you gotta go. Step away from this engagement with this man."
On the other end of the phone, on the other end of her phone is her colleague going, that's Ezra. Stop what you're saying.
Stop what you're doing.
And then she says, I'm going to have to call you back. And then flips open her little notepad like, oh, lady.
Yeah.
Oh, lady, I do believe you stepped in it in that moment. You did give Canada a good view.
Didn't look great. Speaking of not looking great, Alexa Lavoie out there talking to Ottawa residents who told her that Chris Barber and Tamara Leach were terrorists.
Can I just ask quickly, what did you think of the Freedom Convoy?
I think it was horrendous, right? I mean, these were terrorists causing grief to all of the residents of Ottawa. Frankly, embarrassing Canadians like ourselves, embarrassing Albertans like ourselves. I never did that.
Shut up.
I really do hope that they get what they deserve in court. I think it was ridiculous. Yeah.
Crown is asking 8 years. Do you think it's enough?
Those are my... I think whatever the Crown asks for, the judicial system should be allowed to run. I think it's absolutely ridiculous when politicians, like Trump is doing in the U.S., right, firing people in the judicial system. That's unacceptable. So Poilievre and his some of the Poilievre, first of all, not even as an MP right now, making comments that are contrary to what the judicial system is trying to do, completely inappropriate. We don't need politicians. They shouldn't be above the law. They shouldn't have any jurisdiction over the law. And you have to let the Crown prosecutors do their job. They're the experts in this. But like I said, terrorists deserve to go to jail, and I hope they do get a substantial sentence. We'll see what the judge gives.
Okay, he does. First of all, I don't believe he speaks on behalf of Albertans. I'll tell you that much. I wouldn't even say that I speak on behalf of Albertans, but as an Albertan whose politics are more in line with the general ethos of Albertans writ large, I would tell you that people would largely disagree with what he has to say. And did you notice he called them terrorists, but then what was their act of terrorism? Causing grief.
Right.
That was an act of terrorism against the sensibilities of a Canadian leftist. An inconvenience. You should go to jail for 7 years for an inconvenience.
What? You should go to jail for 7 years for invading the safe space of the jail that these precious Ottawa bureaucratic elites put themselves in.
Cage. The gilded cage.
That's right. They invaded the gilded cage of the Ottawa elites. That's what happened. But tell me you're a precious consumer of the mainstream media without telling me that you're a precious consumer of the mainstream media. But this is the crazy thing, is this guy's opinions are not just his alone. These are the opinions of everybody that watches the mainstream media. And God bless our rebel viewers for pulling yourselves out of that information vacuum and seeing the other side of this story. That's right. That's exactly right. So thanks so much for being on the good side, you guys, and for joining us here. But I for one would like to know who that guy is, just simply so we can deport him from the new country.
You just stay in Ottawa. Just stay there.
Yeah, God bless you, but goodbye.
You're more of a cultural fit for Ottawa. Yes. Yeah. We've got Ezra, a tweet from him. He said, "The absurdity of the sentencing hearing is an echo chamber of that large abusive malpractice. This court has set aside 2 days with the possibility of a third for sentencing. It's absurd that this would take more than an hour. And then he goes on to say, prosecutor Siobhan Wetcher, I think. My Gaelic is not up to snuff. Siobhan Wetcher.
Yeah.
The convoy says the convoy's harm was vast, but never actually says what the vastness is. It was just like, oh, they caused grief. That's not terrorism. That's an inconvenience. You might not like it, but that's not even a crime necessarily. You'll never find a more woke lawyer arguing for a more thin-skinned, microaggressive, sensitive community. She says 7 years is reasonable, given that the court could theoretically do 10 years. And as I pointed out in a reply to Ezra, this Crown wants the judge to sentence Leach and Barber for the crime she wishes she could have charged them with.
That's right.
But didn't have the evidence to charge them with, i.e., as we heard from the last crazy person, terrorism. So what they're asking for is sentencing in line with terrorism, as I pointed out yesterday when we went through the Toronto 18 sentencing, for non-violent criminal mischief, which normally would not see the inside of a jail cell. It's insane.
It's
They
insane.
want another kick at the can is what they're doing here.
Well, exactly. They're sentencing based on their opinion and not on the facts of the trial and the evidence that was produced at the trial. If we were to sentence them according to sentencing guidelines for mischief, okay, even though at the very, very far end, sentences can go up to 10 years for mischief, most people are not incarcerated at all for mischief. And here Tamara Leach has spent over 52 days in a cage for her participation in the Freedom Convoy. And before we went on the air, Chris Oldcorn pointed out that he's covered trials of child offenders, we'll say, abusers, who got 1 day, who got a sleepover camp, and they're asking for 8 years. Are they insane? And the answer, of course, is yes. Because of course they are.
I would like to tell that Ottawa-washed Alberta crazy person that, okay, fine. I agree to your terms. We will sentence them as terrorists, which means they'll get 1 day in jail because that's what an ISIS bride got.
That's right. That's right. And so then they've got 51 days of additional incarceration.
Yeah, you owe her some time back.
The Crown is looking for their pound of flesh, and they are going to stop at nothing to get it. So here's to hoping and here's to praying that cooler heads prevail, and the judiciary can see this for what it is. And this is obviously a political persecution.
Yeah, let's go one more clip from Ezra here. He points out that the Ottawa police, who told him that his truck driving past the courthouse was trespassing, not stopping, just cutting a lap, that's trespassing. While the Ottawa police act as concierge and escorts for pro-Hamas protesters, many of whom aren't even Canadian citizens. No charges for them, but 7 years in prison is their demand for peaceful Canadian truckers. And then he links to a clip from Leviathan, who shows Looney Tunes, pro-terror supporters, just harassing people trying to have a meal down at the keg. Yeah, like, look, this is insane. Do you see the baby stroller there too?
I was just gonna say, this is a family restaurant where people are going for a nice, sweet little lunch with their baby, and here we have these lunatics screaming in their faces. Could you imagine, Sheila? Could you imagine what would? I would throw my basket of bread at them. I would, 100%.
Yeah, I might jump that little fence there. It wouldn't be enough to keep me away from them. And you've seen me, I'm spry. I could just do that in one jump.
She's bouncy. Our girl is bouncy.
We've got one more clip from Alexa. and she was talking to a lady from Ottawa. And I see this and I think, friends at the Alberta Prosperity Project, just show this on the screen at your education events talking about Alberta separation, because if you need a perfect encapsulation of the cultural differences between Westerners and Laurentians, this is it.
Ask you quickly, like, what did you think about the Freedom Convoy 2022?
The Freedom Convoy.
Yeah, what did you think of it?
It's kind of late in the day to be asking.
I know.
It was a problem.
Yeah. Can you
I live around here. It was a problem. I had a lot of threats from people yelling at me for wearing a mask, people coming over in front of my house, ringing bells, yelling freedom, 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 interfering with conversations with neighbors, because I live across from where they were staying. Mm-hmm. So it was intrusive and it was unnecessary. I don't think they accomplished anything. I think they were more of a laughing stock at the end. I think they've shown themselves for what they are. Also, I think the people who are the leaders were not just leaders of that group. I think initially they were anti-immigration. They were gun lobbyists. They belonged to a different group than the one they portrayed themselves as being part of here. And they hid behind the Freedom Convoy, I think, in order to pass on their views about, well, they're racists, you know, and nobody brought that up as much, but there was a lot of
because it's not true.
Racism going on up there near Parliament, and people of color were being harassed and called names. And this had nothing to do with freedom, as they call it. I think it's just that group was kind of like white supremacists. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know those white supremacist organizations that are often run by little Métis grandmas. You know how bad those are. They're just popping up everywhere. This lady is like, well, they never talked about enough about I guess the mainstream media never talked enough about how racist the Freedom Convoy was. That's because there was nothing to talk about, because they weren't. It was a multi-ethnic protest. It had nothing to do with any of that. They're from the gun lobby. You mean they're Westerners? Is that what you mean? So people who own firearms, that's not the gun lobby. She just was throwing out things.
All of the word salad that the mainstream media fed her, Sheila Gunn Reid, that is what she was doing. And to say, like, she said something about, you know, these freedom convoyers were intrusive. Not a crime. What was the federal government to the entire country during all of COVID, if not intrusive? What do you think that they were protesting, lady? What do you think? Like, this is actually paging Jeffrey Rapp. Paging Jeffrey Rapp, play this at your town halls, because this is the exact kind of person that we're dealing with in Eastern Canada. Do we want that kind of person for the new country, Sheila? Do we?
And you know, it answers her own question that she doesn't realize what she's posing. Because the question is, she says, they didn't show it enough. Well, that's because there was nothing to show.
Right.
And you would think in a demonstration that was entirely live streamed from thousands of different angles every single day, someone might have caught that.
Yeah.
It never was. Isn't that weird?
Isn't that interesting? And just for the record, for that lady, First Nations people participated in the Freedom Convoy. Black people participated. People from all races, religions, socioeconomic backgrounds.
Sikhs.
All of them came together under the umbrella of the Freedom Convoy to say, we have had enough of the government intrusion into our lives. But again, this is the exact product. That woman is a perfect example of the product that's produced by only consuming the corrupt mainstream media in Canada. Yeah. And in the new country, we're not going to fund the media. And so you won't get this large-scale brainwashing that we see with those last two clips. So.
You know how I can tell that someone has been taken into leftist brainwashing, that they've been ideologically captured by the nonsense they see on the TV? It's when they use the phrase people of color non-ironically. Like normal people would just say minorities, right?
Right.
And if I use the phrase people of color, I always say to use the language of the left, people of color. So I don't want people to think that those are my own words. She's crazy. She's absolutely crazy. I should tell you, Tamara Leach opted not to lean into her Indigenous heritage to get a lesser sentence. She made a conscious decision to say that would be divisive, that would be unfair, and I'm not going to do that.
Well, there's a reason why we're going to erect bronze statues of her and Christ, Big Red in the new country. And that's exactly why. She's a woman of incredible grace and insane fortitude. And you really couldn't find a better person, a better human if you tried than Tamara Leach. So
much dignity packed into one
true story. Yeah.
Efron, do we want to hit another ad break or just keep on rolling? Oh yeah, we are behind. It's already the top of the hour. Speaking of racists, according to I think it's Leger polling, most Canadians think Canada is accepting too many immigrants, and many don't trust newcomers. It could possibly be all the temporary foreign worker scams. There's no reason why Mr. Lube needs temporary foreign workers. Hire 16-year-old kids to change the oil. It could be all the scam universities offering training for people to get here and then all of a sudden claim refugee status. It could be the people lying about being refugees, that why people don't trust newcomers. Like the broken system is fostering even more division. It's like the other day when everyone was shocked to find out that people are now general vaccine skeptics. And it's like, yeah, because they don't trust you now. You've created this problem where we know you lied about this one thing. So lying about everything, even the things that work, because that's what happens. And so anyways, this poll found that 57% of immigrants also agree that there are too many immigrants, while 60% of non-immigrants feel that way. So people who came here in the before times, before the Liberals broke the immigration system, they're almost neck and neck with, as they say, old stock Canadians.
So nearly,
on that there are too many immigrants in this country. And this goes across, by the way, ideological lines. NDPers, Liberals, and Conservatives were polled in this. And all recent polling has shown that it doesn't matter what political party that you are in. This is an issue. And this is an issue that probably could have won the Liberals an election, because they could have pulled from could have won the Conservatives the election, because they could have pulled
exactly this
from the Liberals and the NDP, who this is their issue. And it's clear. It's like a 2/3 issue for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think the Conservatives are now very slowly jumping at they're heading off the beginning of the parade, going, well, maybe we did bring in too many people too quickly, and maybe we should slow down this refugee train. But if you're one of the nearly 60% of Canadians who believe that immigration is out of control, just wait until you hear what the government has done next. Okay. So not only are we accepting immigrants from just wherever, with no vetting, no consideration as to the public infrastructure that they're going to need, whether that be healthcare or housing or public education. But Canada, the government of Canada, I'm just jumping ahead a little bit here in the schedule, Efren. The government of Canada has announced a large-scale marketing campaign to recruit LGBTQI refugees into Canada. So if you're one of the 60% of Canadians who believe that immigration is out of control, wait till you hear about this. There is huge income and social benefit programs provided. So if you are an LGBTQIA refugee, say from, let's see, right next door in the United States, where all of a sudden, where all of a sudden it is declared that actually there is only men and women. There actually is only men and women. And we're not going to allow our healthcare system to medically butcher our young people, or really any people, okay? You can apply for asylum to the country of Canada. Canada's going to take you in, and guess who's paying for this? You guys, guess who's paying for this? It's you, the Canadian taxpayer. You get, if you're an LGBTQIA refugee on the, get this is what they're calling it, the Rainbow Railroad, okay? So they're hearkening back. They're hearkening back to the days of slavery when they would bring people in the Underground Railroad to Canada to escape slavery. This is what they're doing. You're going to pay for 1 year of income for the LGBTQIA refugees coming into Canada, and all of the social programming that they can cram into their pockets. Oh, Canada, we warned you about this on this very live stream ahead of the election. We said, oh, you know what Canada's going to do? They're going to offer asylum to the LGBTQ, to the trans queers. And guess what they did? Here's an official program. This is who we are going to be supporting as taxpayers. And I just want to say that in the new country, we will absolutely not be doing this.
We're going to get a lot of blue hairs from North Dakota and Texas.
We
career student baristas claiming
the trans housing by proxy mommies, okay, with their children.
That's absolutely the next point that I was going to make.
The trans housing by proxy mommies with the babies that need the cross-sex hormones and the puberty blockers and the surgeries. That's who Canada is going to take in and pay for.
We're going to be taking refugees on this issue from some of the wealthiest, most progressive places on the face of the earth, like the United Kingdom, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, the United States, and European countries like France and Norway, all of which are rolling back their gender surgery butchery on minors. And so their parents are going to claim asylum on their behalf to Canada. Please don't come to Alberta, because we don't do that stuff here, because of this Rainbow Railroad. And here's the thing. During the Harper era, there was an asylum program for LGB refugees, but it wasn't from these places. It was from the likes of Saudi Arabia, Iran,
Sub-Saharan Africa.
Sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. The Palestinian-controlled places where they drag you behind a motorcycle for same-sex attraction. That's where we were taking these rainbow refugees from. Real refugees who are facing persecution because of same-sex attraction. We are going to be taking refugees from Sweden because they are 16 and can't get their cross-sex hormones.
I would just like to point out that Alberta is the only province in the nation of Canada that has stopped this madness and this butchery as it pertains to children. Saskatchewan is a little bit slower than Alberta.
We'll get you there.
Okay,
we'll get you there.
And we are still offering puberty blockers and wrong sex hormones and the healthcare pathways, right? Like in Saskatchewan, you can just call a number. You can just send an email and find out the medical pathways that are available to people that want to transition. Why we aren't putting a stop to this right now that we know government of Saskatchewan and Jeremy Cockrell, Minister of Health, now that we know that the government of Canada has greenlit a program for LGBTQIA asylum seekers, now would be the time to drop the hammer on stopping all of this madness, this gender madness on children in Saskatchewan. Because if you don't, guess where they're going to come? Here.
Yeah. Let's.
You know what? what's her name? Susan Holt.
Right. Suze.
The Premier of New Brunswick, the child transition rainbow waving lunatic Susan Holt. Let her take in these asylum seekers. Let her. Yeah, we want to keep our healthcare system a little bit better protected than that here on the prairies.
Efron, speaking of crazy lady politicians, even the small time ones, the municipal ones, can you please dig up that thing that I absolutely was like, yep, that is exactly on the nose, from my muse Nilly Kaplan Mirth. I just wanted to talk about it with Lise because we never got around to talking about it, and we'll talk about that. Like, I think I have 3 daily cringes lined up, so I just want to touch on this one thing before we get into them, because I know we're way past the hour and we have our department head meeting coming up at 12:30. But I want to follow up on this from yesterday that we talked about, and this, I think this is Chris Oldcorn's article. Didn't take long. Parks Canada revoked mega musicians concert at Parks Canada. Oh, we've got it from the CBC, but I would prefer if we got it from Chris. Musician Sean Fucht preaches during the final stop of Kingdom to the Capitol prayer rally in Wesley Bowen Memorial Plaza outside the Arizona State Capitol in Phoenix. That shows the picture. Parks Canada has said a U.S. singer and rising star in the MAGA movement will not perform at a National Historic Site near Halifax after the federal agency revoked the organizer's permit. But the show is slated to go on at a new venue. I want to be there. I've never heard his music before. As a Catholic, there's something so... I don't know. I don't care for Christian rock music. I like when you are inadvertently evangelized by country music singers. High Valley, I'm looking right at you. I know what you're doing. I like it. Yeah. But I don't like that genre of music. But I appreciate it. And I'm glad that this is going to go ahead in a new venue. What I hate is the political litmus test before you can use in our national parks. But this is no different than what the National Capital Commission did to the Freedom Convoy, isn't it? You couldn't be in the nation's capital because your politics were wrong.
This is exactly it. What Parks Canada have said to Sean Fuchs is, you can't perform on our property because of safety concerns, because they use safety as the cudgel.
Okay, deal with the people threatening Sean Fuchs. You just blamed the victim.
This is exactly it. And Chris Oldcorn, in his piece in the Western Standard, everybody should go look at it after we're off the air here, rightly points out that this Parks Canada location that Sean Fuchs was supposed to be able to perform at was the location of the Pride Parade not 2 weeks ago. And yet there was no concern about safety then, was there? So here we have this is what we want to say to Sean Fuchs. Okay, this is what we want to say. We dearly hope that in your rider, okay, in your contract, when you're developing your contract, that you have an out clause that will pay you upwards of $10,000 or more if the venue cancels on you for any reason. You know, Sean Fuchs, that you are being targeted by these vapid left-wing activists in the government, and you need to protect yourself. We know that this strategy works. Okay, write it into the fine print of your contract. They will sign it, and if your venue backs out, you get $10,000 from them. Okay, Sean Fuchs, this is our advice to you.
You know who did the exact same thing to us? Oh, you know, because the local Liberal MP put pressure on Parks Canada. By the way, you don't cancel for Sean Fuchs' safety if that's who the safety is that we're concerned about, because he's the guy getting the threats.
That's right.
You protect him and his right to perform. But I think they're saying the threats are the fact that someone would have an ideological difference and venue and yet be in your town. And so to expose you or to prevent exposure to grief, which is akin to terrorism, as we heard earlier, they must cancel Sean Fuchs.
Just wild.
But this is exactly what Yara Sachs did to Rebel News. She tried to get our event that we co-hosted with Rumble.
Oh, in Toronto,
Donald Trump Jr. canceled, and then she had the venue basically shake us down for security costs.
For safety. because
safety.
there was a safety concern.
Yeah. So now we're suing Yara Sachs and others to conspire to violate our free speech because the venue was on leased property from the federal government, which manages decommissioned federal military bases. And so now we're suing them. And they just did the exact same thing to this guy. I hope he sues Parks Canada and the local Liberal MP for conspiring to violate his right to free speech. I hope they do it.
Oh, Sean, this is an excellent idea. And the craziest thing is, our dear Christian music friend, Sean Fucht, is that they just gave you all of the evidence you need to do exactly that. You can just go over to the CBC's website and see all of those people in quotes violating your rights. Like, this is a brilliant idea. I love this for him. I love this for him. And it goes without saying that if we were in the Halifax area, we would be, or he's way north of Halifax, is he not? He's performing this weekend. We would be there, okay? If we were on the same side of the country, we would be there supporting him tonight. So we're just recommending.
He was also scheduled to play in Charlottetown, but the city of Charlottetown revoked his permit. They're treating him like he's in the KKK.
They're treating him like he's, a Christian. This is Christian
that's what he said
right here.
He said they're not so tolerant when peaceful Christians come together.
No, they're very much not, are they? Are they? And here's a guy that preaches love and inclusivity, and yet this is the treatment that he gets. Something is happening on the East Coast. If I were a person that voted in elections, I would kick all the people that had anything to do with this out. The end.
Okay, let's get to some of these chats and we'll do our bang, bang, bang 3 daily cringes.
Okay.
Because one of them is Saskatchewan NDP on the daily cringe. And then we'll talk about Nilly Kaplan Mirth. I can't believe I didn't talk about this when it happened. I don't know what I was doing. And then what Ulta did, which is like the department store beauty brand stuff, like the Walmart of beauty brands. It's like Sephora's here, Ulta's here, right?
Yeah, a low cost beauty. Yeah.
Well, they got drugstore brands like and plus stuff like Revolution, but they don't have like maybe they do have the high end stuff, but not
like they don't have the $175 lipsticks as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Nobody needs that anyway. We've got one from Nancy who says, Carney is stringing my country into irrelevance. Help, fire the nut job. That's $13.99. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
I believe,
agreed.
Yeah, but we had an opportunity to fire them and our Eastern friends didn't take it.
Right. Well, that's why there's going to be a new country.
JR gives us $5. Ezra's knowing smirk is classic.
Oh, isn't he the best? Like when
his little dimples going.
He already knows that he's winning and he just starts grinning. Like Sheila and I talk about this often. Ezra is the definition of a happy warrior because he knows as soon as he stepped in, he's already won. Yeah.
It's funny. I think his fat challenge is going well because he was talking about somebody's like physique today and saying that he was like frail looking. And I was like, that's a fat challenge talking. Look at your confidence.
Oh God, just the best.
Silver Feet gives us $10. Carney's elbows are up and knees are down doing a job that blows, which is a wonderful idea for Trump, but sadly not for Canada. I should have read that one before I read it. You know what I mean?
Really loved that one. Like, I like what you did there. I see what you did. I liked it. Hey, you could do that again.
Cicely Barduel, who has become a regular donor and chatter to us here, says
Cicely's a viewer of the day. Yeah.
That comment alone infuriated me. Here's my response, and I don't see the response. Maybe your response is just donating to us, which I think is lovely. And I think we're talking about the guy who claimed to speak for all Albertans from his $40 lunch in Ottawa on a patio.
Yeah.
Nana Awake gives us $10 and says, if they impose jail time or other punishment on Chris or Tamara, it's further evidence we no longer have a legal system. We have a draconian enforcement arm of the government's vendetta system against Canadians.
Amen. Nana Wake.
That the truth. Okay, let's go to the Daily Cringe.
Okay.
It's the Saskatchewan New Democrats. Is this Carla Beck? I didn't watch it.
This
Oh
is,
my God, this is so bad. It's
isn't it?
the
so
left
incre-
can't meme. Show this.
The left
Saskatchewan
can't.
New Democrats. Scott Moe is cuddling up when he should be elbows up. Can we just stop? That is the stupidest. I hate elbows up. I never thought elbows up was the proper approach. Scott Moe.
And then they superimpose Scott Moe's face at the Coldplay concert with Donald Trump, because there's several things that have gone wrong with this. Number one, it's a day late and a dollar short. This would have been funny if they would have released it on the weekend when the rest of the world was talking about these things. Well, it might have been. It might have been slightly funnier had it been timely, but it wasn't timely. So it's like, oh, you're late to this. You're late to this meme game. But this is not what we want. We do not want to antagonize our largest trading partner. And that's exactly what the Saskatchewan NDP is doing here. The left can't meme, nothing further than that needs to be said.
Who did this? Like the most basic free editing software on your phone could have done this a little bit better than whatever this bad edit is. It looks stupid. If you, Efron, can you roll down into the comments, because somebody is a far better memer than the left there, and it's the Night Stalker. Did you see that?
In the comments on the Sask NDP post?
Yeah, it's funny. But while Efron's digging that up, I just want to point out that these are, look, vote NDP or draw 25.
Very good, Night Stalker.
That is funny. Well done.
That is 100% accurate. But no, leave it to the Saskatchewan NDP to look juvenile and falsely aggressive and try and be funny. Like, it's so unprofessional. It shows exactly who they are. Like, exactly
also,
who they are.
Passive aggressively homophobic for people who won't shut up about homophobia.
Well, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Now let's go to
homophobes, blatant homophobes,
but this
bigots.
This is where I'm like, am I homophobic? Because I really hate this. Ulta Beauty just hired a bearded dude in a dress to introduce us to cosmetics. Let's watch.
Here to see the display for the first time, you guys. Hi, honey. What's your name? Paulina. Nice to meet you, Paulina. Nice to meet you. What's your name, honey? Nice to meet you.
My God.
We're gonna see what Javian hair looks like at Ulta for the first time. It's gonna be Ulta fun. Okay, let's see it. Who's that? She's so pretty. I got highlights since then. You guys, do you think it's pretty?
It's gorgeous.
Do you think she's gonna get along with all of her other new Ulta friends?
She fits right in.
She does, right? Javian hair is now at Ulta Beauty nationwide. We love the hair you have. Javian hair is now at Ulta.
Okay, so that is the end wokeness says Ulta Beauty just hired a bearded dude in a dress, but that's not quite accurate. What they are doing is they are partnering with JVN Beauty, which is, I forget this, Jonathan Van something. Jonathan, I forget who he is. I don't care. I don't wander into the like beauty YouTuber section of the internet. Generally speaking, being a 46-year-old woman, I have no interest in any of this stuff. But Ulta, this is more of just men taking up women's spaces. Like, look, JVN hair products, they could be good, they could be great, but this, who does this market to?
It's just so offensive. Like, this is so offensive to hear that guy, okay, a cross-dresser in high heels, talking about himself as a she, her, and then selling his beauty products at the front of the store. Nothing could chase me away as a consumer faster than seeing this bookend at the front of a store. Nothing on earth. Got nothing in common with this guy. This guy doesn't reflect women or our unique beauty needs. And listen, Ulta Beauty, you wanna platform people like this? You want to platform people like this? Then say goodbye to your ardent and forever supporters, because you will see women walk out the door. No, this is crazy. This is insane.
Yeah, like I love a good curly haired product. I'm always on the hunt for the latest one, and nothing will ever be better than Dippity Doo Blue. Nothing. I mean, it has all the things that the high end stuff has. Like there's no alcohol in it. It's got a good cast. But like, and this is so old and done with. Like, we're so over this stuff.
Yeah.
CoverGirl did this first 8 years ago with James Charles, who turned out to be quite problematic in his own right. I'm just done with this. It's so, and what, have you ever seen a woman act like that in Ulta?
Like never.
Have some dignity.
Never. And this is like, that behavior is the exact same reason why I don't want these men in our washrooms or change rooms or sports or women's only spaces, because this is not how we behave in these spaces. Absolutely not. Like, this is actually an abomination. But what Ulta Beauty is doing here is begging to be Bud Lighted. They are begging to be boycotted by their standard bearers, the women that formerly supported their stores. If you're in a market that has an Ulta Beauty in it, maybe just pass from now on.
Yeah. Ulta is not available in Canada. You can't even get it shipped here, by the way. And I'm fine by that.
Good.
Yeah, Laura Geller, never do this to me, because I don't know what I'll do. Let's bring up Nilly Kaplan-Myrth, because I saw this last week and I was like, I have to save this for Tuesday. I must talk about this with Lisa, and then it completely slipped my mind yesterday. Efron, serve it up to me straight. Nilly Kaplan-Myrth, my muse. The woman just warms the cockles of my bitter Alberta heart sometimes, because she's so crazy. And like, she makes me laugh at her craziness. I find her comical. One of my favorite things that I've ever done at this company was delivering a petition to her.
It was the best. It was the best.
And I just laughed. I just laughed in her face, because she like slammed the door, and I just burst out laughing. And I was like, Sheila, don't laugh at her. Be cool. She's going to act crazy. You have to be calm. And I just laughed. It was just, wow. But Nilly Kaplan-Myrth is a gender radical lunatic. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, she's a Transhausen by proxy, mommy. Of course she is.
Wait. Are you going to tell me that one of Nilly Kaplan-Myrth's offspring has bravely come out as trans? Is that what you're about to tell me?
Yeah. Our eldest child, your son, is 25 today. You know what, I'm not going to correct her grammar. I'll just read it in her language.
Okay.
Our eldest child is 25 today. She's given us permission to share that she has transitioned. We could not be prouder of her for the courage to be herself, or love her more. Happiest birthday to her. You can tell that Nilly went out of her way to use the female pronouns extra lots in this to prove a point. But honestly, I was sharing a conspiracy theory in the morning call with the journalist today, that I think there's something in these unnatural color hair dyes that's hormonally disrupting people.
That's leaching into the brain.
I'm worried. We need RFK on this right now.
Yeah. But are we, like, Sheila, are we shocked by this?
It's so on the nose, you'd almost think it was fake, because it's too on the nose.
Well, of course it is. I mean, who amongst us would be surprised that Nilly Kaplan-Myrth's eldest son has actually decided to be her daughter? I mean, it just sort of writes itself. The jokes write themselves. So, I mean, the chance of having a trans kid is exponentially increased if you're a vapid, insane leftist. And that is just the long and short of it. You know how many homeschooled kids become trans? Zero.
Yeah.
Zero. You want to insulate your kids from this madness? You keep them close, you keep them on track, and you keep telling them the truth. I mean, what this shows to me is that Nilly Kaplan-Myrth negated her responsibilities as a parent through the developmental years of this person's life. That's what that says to me.
You're telling me that somebody with an overbearing, controlling, erratic, unstable mother, that young men with mothers like that go on to struggle with their sexuality and sexual identity later? Well, I never, Jonathan, I never would think that would happen, Ed Gein.
She drops the Ed Gein label. I mean, that is 100% true. We should not be shocked by this. We should not be shocked by this. When you have thoroughly self-centered, unhinged mothers, parents, vapid left-wing parents, this is the result of that.
Yeah.
So,
in the before times when we still had lead in the paint and the gasoline.
Right.
Before cell phones, so we tracked people. And somebody with a mother with this pathology sometimes would have a menagerie of women in the basement. Instead, this is how it manifests now. So
yes. Hey, Canada, get a good look at this brand new trans baby. Real soon he's going to be in your washrooms, your change rooms, your sports, and all of your sex segregated spaces. Way to go. Way to go, Ontario.
You know what? Honestly, I have nothing but pity for that individual. And anyway, we got one more chat and then we'll wrap it up because we're all late for the managers meeting now. Boo Ben gives us $10. I think Bonnie Critchley does the voiceover for the Rue Russell character in Fubar. I forgot who Rue Russell was.
Sorry, all of it went over my head. I have no idea what's happening here.
I'll bring myself up to speed for next time. If we're talking about the movie Fubar, I did once dress as one of the characters for Fubar for Halloween.
Did you?
Yeah. It wasn't Dean though. I dressed as anyways, I'll show the clip next time because it was at a wrestling event and he was the ring announcer and they were judging costumes and I walk up dressed exactly like him and he's like
Nobody does a special dress up event like our Sheila Gunn Reid. Nobody.
I dressed as Terry from Fubar. So I had like the yellow aviators and the red jacket and the like sweatpants pulled up to my knee and like the high tops. And I jumped. I even did like his wild, like if you know Fubar, you know like his leg kick that he does. I got in the ring and did the leg kick.
Not to have my blonde take precedence today because you know that I said something in the lead up to the show that was so unbearably funnily stupid. But I don't even know what Fubar is. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Oh my God, how are you from the prairies? Anyways, we're going to watch this later. Oh, I hear the managers calling me. Got to go. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for joining us on the show today. Lise, thank you so much for coming along on the wild ride these last few days.
Wow.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, buddy. See you next Tuesday.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you did there, and I think the rest of you might also. Efron, thanks for working hard behind the scenes, and everybody else who has the show there wherever you want to find it, however you want to consume it. They make sure it's there for you. And I think that's it. Thanks everybody who pitches in a little bit to keep the show on the air. Those of you who share the show, that's a great free way to help us. If you are watching the show, leave a comment. That helps us get higher up in the algorithm. It serves us up to more eyeballs. And as my friend David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.